Hello and welcome to Healthy Mind, Healthy Life with your host Avik. This podcast is all about exploring the latest research, sharing personal stories, and providing personal tips for improving our mental health and well-being. Each episodes will be joined by experts in the field of mental health, as well as individuals who have experienced the transformative power of a healthy mind firsthand. Together, we will dive into a range of topics from managing stress and anxiety to building resilience and cultivating happiness. So, join us on this journey to discover new ways to take care of our minds, bodies, and souls. And let's work together to create a healthier, happier world one episode at a time. So, let's get started. Hello and welcome to another enlightening episode of Healthy Mind, Healthy Life. I'm your host Avik, and today we have an incredible guest who truly embodies the art of storytelling and the self-discovery. So, yes, I'm talking about James Walters. So, welcome to the show, James.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Lovely, lovely, great. James, before we start our conversation, I would quickly love to introduce you to all of our listeners. Dear listeners, James is not only a dad, author, podcaster, branding trainer, business owner, and the mentor, but also a man with the profound mission. So he's here to help people live their best lives by identifying what they truly want, taking creative risks, and also sharing their unique stories with the world. So today we will be driving into the transformative power of journaling, like how putting pen to paper can change your life, help you navigate the challenges, and also at the same time guide you to a more intentional and fulfilling existence. So James, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. So welcome to the show again.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me today.
Lovely, lovely. So, James, you have had such a diverse and the successful career. So, if you can tell us, how did journaling come into your life, and what role did it play in your personal transformation?
Oh, it's one of my favorite topics. So I'm so glad we're talking about this today. And for my career, I've always been a photographer. And so I have been telling stories, other people's stories, through photographs for 30 years now. And when it came to journaling, I think there was a period of my life, probably 10 to 12 years ago, where I was really searching for a lot of answers. I was at that point in my life and my career where I was happy enough, but I knew there could be more to life, and I wanted to find it. And I started reading books. One of the books I read was called The Artist's Way, and it's by Julia Cameron. It's a book that has been around for a very long time. And I started reading that because I consider myself an artist as a photographer, and I thought it would give me some insights, and everything I'd heard about the book was really positive. And I started reading into it, and the biggest part of the book is something she calls morning pages. And it's a morning ritual, and it involves just writing one page in a notebook or a journal. It doesn't have to be complicated, but you just write down whatever it is you're thinking. And I thought, okay, that seems easy enough. I'll do it. And the way it was presented in the book, there's no really point to it except to just get your thoughts out onto paper and then move on with your day. And so if you've unloaded a little bit of what's on your mind, the thought is that it makes it easier for you to have that in the past and move on with the future parts of being creative in your day. So I started doing that, and I did it for probably a year before I just fell out of the practice. I didn't see where it was going. I didn't understand the benefits at the time. And then 4 years ago, COVID happened. And for me, it gave me, just like a lot of folks, it gave me a lot of extra time. There wasn't really any photography going on. And so to try to keep things going, I incorporated journaling again into my morning routine. And for no other reason than to try to just put my thoughts down every single day. And I kept it to a page. And the magic part happened about 2 years later because I kept up with the practice. And one day, I don't know why, but one day I decided to just start reading through the past entries. And that's when it hit me that I had been living the same year over and over again for the last 2 years. I was writing about the same problems that I was having. I was writing about the same goals and aspirations as I was almost 2 years before. I was chronicling some of the same habits and patterns and trying to figure out what to do with them. And it just made me realize in the course of 15 minutes that my life wasn't progressing. It wasn't going where I wanted it to go. And I was seeing exactly why. And so that's when I learned how powerful journaling can be. And I do it nearly every day since.
Wow, that's awesome, I would say. Yeah. And with this, when we are talking about the journaling thing, and as we all know, journaling should be a great way, or it is a great way, definitely. So you mentioned that after facing a series of traumatic events, journaling helped you rewrite your own life script. So uh, if you can share with us more about this practice, how this practice allowed you to regain that control over your narrative.
Definitely, because that's one of the most crucial points in the transformation, right? Because one of my favorite sayings, and I did not make this up by any means, but one of my favorite sayings is that nothing changes if nothing changes,
Right.
which means if I'm looking back on my journal and I realize that the same problems I was talking about a year ago, I'm still experiencing, then that means that nothing has changed. And it's up to me to decide what I'm going to do, what steps I'm going to take, whether it's about my health, whether, I set a weight loss goal or a fitness goal. Actually, I don't really like weight loss, but I like to hit a certain fat percentage, body fat. That's what I look at as a metric. And so I was at least a year and a half ago trying to get to a certain percentage. And after a year and a half, I had not hit that or gotten anywhere close to it. So I had to ask myself, okay, is this really a goal? Am I really trying to do this, or am I just wishing? And if I'm just wishing about, well, maybe it's time to stop thinking about it. Maybe it's time to let that one go. And so then asking myself a question in that way, is it time to let this wish go? Am I not really that serious about it? That gave me the power. It feels like it would be, oh, woe is me, but that gave me the power to decide, am I going to make this a priority? Because I'm a really big believer in that there are so many ways that we create our life. And not everyone has the same ability and the same ways to create their life in the ways that they want. But in that specific way, my fitness journey, I did have the ability to get up a little earlier, to go work out more often, to incorporate more steps in my day. I did have that flexibility. I had ultimate control over what food I was going to eat or not eat. And in that way, I had to really look at myself and say, okay, are you serious about this goal, or is it just something that's nice to have? And I still struggle with it. Journaling has given me awareness over so many things in my life that I truly would not have had I not started the process. And so that's really the power, is awareness. And once you have awareness, and that's what journaling does. It brought me the awareness, but once you do have that awareness, then what do you do with it? Do you actually make the changes you want to make to have the life you want to have?
Understood. And also, many people struggle with the consistency of journaling. So, how do you recommend someone begin this practice, especially if they are new to it or have difficulty sticking with it?
I love that question because I personally I love to journal now. I did not always. Like I said in the beginning, I wondered, okay, what's the point of this? I'm writing my thoughts down. And I've always understood it can be healthy to get your thoughts out on paper, maybe process feelings and emotions a little bit better. But for new people, people new to journaling, I like to compare it to meditation because I know I was one of those people who heard meditation and they thought, oh, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do if you want to be calm and well balanced and have good mental health. You should meditate because people say you should. And then you have to ask the question, how do I meditate? Because some people suggest doing a guided meditation where you hear someone giving you instructions in your earbuds or AirPods, and then some people say, "Oh no, you just get really quiet and still, and you focus on your breath." And the thing I learned by doing all of these different things is that there is no right or wrong. It's what works for you. And here's the biggest piece I love for people to hear, especially if they're not used to it. It takes a little while to figure out what's right for you. So you may not figure it out the first 10, 20, 50 times that you do it. And each of those times you're going to wonder if you did it the right way. And that's normal. And it's no different with journaling because my preference for journaling is to just have an empty notebook page. And I limit myself to one page. I never go over, even if I have a lot on my mind, I try to keep my words short. But essentially, the way I do it, I recap what was going on for me the day before. And so like this morning, I sat down and I said, this morning was the first time I've journaled in 4 days because I've been at events that were out of town, and I've been at one event from early morning until late at night. And when I wasn't on at these events, I was sleeping. And so today was the first time I got to catch up on the things that happened. And so I simply wrote down that I had been running at a really hard pace. And I had not treated my body very well in the last several days. I'd gotten far more steps in, because I count those, than I could have imagined doing on a normal day. So all in all, things balanced out. But now I was ready to get back to my routine. And that's essentially what I wrote down, just my thoughts, how I felt about things. And if someone is going to be new to it and they think, well, gosh, I don't even know if I have enough to say to fill up one page, then my advice to them is, let's keep this simple. Just get a smaller notebook. Just make the page smaller. And so you lower the bar a little bit until you're comfortable with, and maybe you just write down a couple of sentences like, yesterday was good. I stayed on track, or yesterday was overwhelming because, and then you list out the reasons. And so I encourage people to make it simple for them, just like with meditation. Sometimes people like a prompt, and they like a journal page that says, list 7 things you're grateful for right now. Yeah. I know people who love that because it gives them structure. But for me, it didn't work because maybe there were things going on in my life I needed to get out onto the journal page that didn't have anything to do with gratitude just then. And so forcing myself to look at the gratitude felt a little inauthentic for the moment. Whereas if it was a different day, everything I might write about would be something I was grateful for. And so for me, I think as you progress in any sort of practice like meditation or like journaling, it comes from within you, and you need a little less guidance the more comfortable you get with it.
Yeah, understood. So, I mean, you have helped like others identify what they truly want in life through your various roles. So, how can journaling assist someone in uncovering their true desires and their life goals?
That's so where the magic happens, because the things that I have so many conversations with people. I have a podcast and I talk with people who have been through periods in their life where they realized they weren't living their life in a way, or they weren't doing the things in their life that brought them joy. And then they had to figure out, okay, what do I do now? How can I create a life that gives me joy? And in my case, and in other cases, stories that I've gotten from people, it's been so inspiring to hear that as they journaled, or as they, sometimes we don't really know what is important to us until either we lose it or until it's reflected back to us through someone else or some other means. And there's a saying that if you want to know what's important to someone, look at what they take pictures of. Look at what they take photographs of, because that's what's important to them. That's the memories they want to hold on to. And when it comes to figuring out where you want to go, what direction you want to take your life, whether it's in an adventurous direction, whether it is in a creative, artistic direction, journaling can help you, because you're going to start to see patterns in the things that you write down, the things that you feel like you're missing out on, or the things that you feel like you could be doing better. And sometimes you'll write down and you'll look back on them. And I always suggest for people, maybe don't look back on your journals for at least 6 months to a year, because that gives you enough time and you're not really judging yourself in real time. You can go back and see where you were 6 months, a year earlier, and then decide for yourself, what does my life look like right now compared to then? And if you love what you see, then great. If you feel like you've made progress and you don't really recognize the person that wrote that page a year and a half ago, then congratulations, you're doing a great job. Don't be embarrassed by that person, because that's what you need. That's who you needed to be to get you where you are now. But if you do look back in a year, even 6 months, and you say, oh, I'm still that person, and what they're talking about is what I'm still talking about now, and I'd really rather not be talking about that anymore. Then you have to start asking yourself those hard questions, like, what is more important than doing what I want to do with my life? And so that's, I know for me, for so many people I've talked with, that is the major benefit. No matter how they come to journaling, it really is that reflection point. And then where does the reflection take them from there?
Exactly. Lovely. So, as someone who's told countless stories around through the photography and the writing, how do you see the connection between visual storytelling and the written word in journaling?
Yeah, I love that, because
Yeah.
some people are so visual, and I'm a visual person for sure. I do love the written word. I love reading books, but I am also very visual. And of course, there is the old saying that a picture is worth 1,000 words, which is why some people love to blog and some people love to create a bucket list, which is just a written list of things they would love to do, while other people love to have their Pinterest board of inspiration, because those photographs inspire them to create the kind of life that they want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it is possible. And I see this from a practical standpoint. I see this less as a paper and pen kind of thing than I do with the journal. But for a lot of people, their journal may be on their computer, and that's okay.
Yeah.
However you come to it, it's better to do it than to kind of worry or concern yourself with what method you're doing it. But I could certainly see starting a journal entry with a photograph, maybe something you took just with your phone
Okay.
the day before, and using that as your prompt, and either talking about that or just reflecting on, I went to a relative's birthday party and these are the things that happened. And then you can look back on that almost like a scrapbook, but it's a scrapbook with a lot more context, because now it's not just a photograph. You're talking a little bit about how you felt about it. Were you with the family? Did you feel pressure from your family because they started asking you about your job? Or are you in school and they started asking you about what job you're going to get when you get out of school? Describing all of those little details that you would not get it from a photograph would help you process later on how you were feeling, what kind of person you were at that time. Because if people were asking you life questions like that and you felt a little hesitant to answer, or you didn't feel really good about your answers, well, that's information for later on. And then that's a good thing to ask yourself, why didn't you feel great? Or why did you feel pressure when you were asked that question? So mixing photographs, mixing the journal entries, I think the written word is really helpful for a lot of context that you wouldn't get from a photo. But when it comes to telling stories, the journaling, the writing, that really tells such a great story, especially when you start to see the story arc. Like if you think of a movie, and the scene in a movie as being one page of your journal, and then maybe you open up the journal labeled 2023, and let's consider that a movie of your life, and each page is a scene from that movie, and some scenes are happy and some scenes are adventure scenes, some are chase scenes, and some are fight scenes, and those are never fun, but unless you're watching someone else do it. But it's the movie of your life, and you can read through it. And if you've got some pictures in there, that's even better, because that adds color and flavor and some context as well. But getting all those details about what was going on within you, within yourself, is really going to paint that picture for you. And it's so much easier than a lot of people, even myself, have made it in the past, for sure.
Wow, that's really, really great. And finally, for our listeners who might be going through a tough time right now, so what advice would you give them about starting a journaling practice to help them navigate their challenges?
Oh, this is such a good one, because I have gone through times like that in the middle of my journaling practice. And the thing I would say to them is just don't hold back. You can put anything on the page. You can, at the end of the year, you can burn the journal. It doesn't have to be around forever. And just, this is 100% for you, for yourself. And also know, if you're going through a hard time, the thing that is interesting about a journal is it proves to you that nothing lasts forever. Hard times don't last forever. Good times don't last forever. People don't last forever. Relationships, even if they are lifelong relationships, at some point, one of those people is not going to last forever. So when you look on these pages, if you think of them again as scenes in a movie, those scenes come through, you experience them, and then you move on to the next scene. And the great thing is, if you look back in your journal entries, you'll see the dark times, you'll see what was weighing on you, and then you'll start to see the progression to the better scenes, and you get through those. And that will give you even more confidence, because you'll see, oh, okay, this was hard. This was really rough. This is how I dealt with it. And look, I got through it. And then you can give yourself the perspective of, if something like that happens again, let's say end of a relationship or death of a loved one or whatever it might be, you'll have proved to yourself that you've come through a hard time like that. It won't necessarily make it easier next time, but you'll know, and you'll have the confidence that you can get through it. And you may have some information from those past journal entries that will help you get through it a little bit better or a little bit faster. So that would be my advice to someone going through tough times.
Lovely. That's really, really great. Great. So thank you so much, James, for sharing your wisdom and the insights with us today. And your journey is truly inspiring. And I know that our listeners will find immense value in your experiences and the power of journaling. So, for those who are tuning in, remember that the pen can indeed be a powerful tool for transformation. So, whether you're looking to navigate the life's challenges or discover your true desires or simply find the clarity, journaling might just be the practice that you need to start. So, until next time, take care, stay mindful, and keep writing your story on your own terms. So, this is Avik signing off from Healthy Mind and Healthy Life. Have a great day ahead.